The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
We lost another rock and roll icon today, man. What a monster, too. One of my favorite musicians of all time, David Crosby, just announced about an hour ago that he passed away at the age of 81. He just tweeted out yesterday. He loved Twitter, man. If you follow David Crosby on Twitter, he tweeted all the time. He just tweeted out yesterday. It was kind of snarky, which was kind of how David was. But when I first came to town in 1988, Crosby, Stills, and Nash was still touring extensively. And so I got a chance to not only meet him, but bring them on stage several times. And they were just amazing. You know, it's really cool, though, too, because you watch rock and rollers now, and there's all kinds of voice synthesization. There's all kinds of different ways to make singers sound better on stage than they actually are. And what I always did, it was great, because you hear these guys in their 60s and 70s, and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way these guys can still sound that good together. And so I was given the opportunity to go backstage several times, and sometimes in front where they'd be mixing the band itself, and you could hear a mix down. Actually, I think it was the Crown Royal backstage area or something at Oak Mountain Amphitheater, where it was a VIP area where you could listen to the mix down of the concert. And I asked one of the engineers during one of their last shows, I saw them in the mid-90s, if I could just hear the vocalization, just hear the harmony. And he played it, and it was unbelievable. I mean, you didn't even need music. It was so good, it was unbelievable. I loved all their music. I was a big Byrds fan. A little before my time, loved Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Of course, I was a Jimmy Buffett fan when he redid Southern Cross. It was fantastic to hear that song live in concert. It was awesome from both David and from Jimmy. And a song you don't get a chance to hear very often, we play it on Tony Kurre Radio, A Dark Star, man. I love that song. I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs. I just heard it a couple days ago driving through Tennessee. I heard it on some off radio stations, so super cool. David, one of only 26 individuals to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not once but twice, more than once. Of course, he was in with the Byrds and with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And I want to share a quick story with you. It's one of my favorite stories, and I've shared it a million times when I've done talks at record clubs and things like that. But they were in town, I want to say it was 93, 94, and we were doing a backstage barbecue meet and greet. We would give away tickets, and then we would ask the band. It was part of the deal. The band would come back and meet our winners. And when you're talking about a Fleetwood Mac, you know, maybe Christine McVie would come back, maybe Mick Fleetwood would come back. It normally wasn't the entire band, but people would bring stuff to sign, and we would have some type of barbecue thing. We'd sit backstage and then go out to our seats before the show started. So Crosby, Stills, and Nash came to town. Graham Nash was super nice. He came back. And signed autographs and was great. And then I walked back out. We were probably 30, 40 yards away from the green room backstage at Oak Mountain Amphitheater, and people wanted to meet David Crosby because it's Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I mean, everyone knows David Crosby. I love Stephen Stills, we love Graham Nash and Neil Young, but David Crosby was the one everyone wanted to meet. So I walked up, and there was an area where they had dinner, where if you were at the stage looking out to the crowd, it would be on the right-hand side. And he was walking through the commissary line and was just pitching a fit. David looked like he always did. David didn't have good days and bad days. He just always looked like David, right? A lot like Joe Cocker. And he had a white T-shirt on. It was stained, and you could see a little of his belly from behind. He had some ripped shorts on. Obviously, he wasn't going to wear that during the show. But he was getting something to eat, and this is about 6 o'clock. And he was just raising all kinds of hell about how nasty the food was. And it got to the point where he dropped his tray on the ground. I mean, he was just being a pain in the ass. He was being a pain in the ass. And I could hear the commotion going on. And of course, the people working the commissary were kind of like, you know, sorry, Mr. Crosby, it's not what you like. And I don't know, it was chicken fingers or whatever. And he's like, I'm not eating this crap. And he threw it on the ground and he walked out. So we were doing something with Jim and Nick's. They were our sponsor for our backstage barbecue, for a meet and greet. So, and I wasn't doing this to be nice to David. I was doing it in hopes that if I brought him some food, he'd be nice enough to come back and meet our 15 or 20 winners. So I came out And I talked to the stage manager. I said, do you know where David is? He goes, you probably don't want to mess with David right now. I said, no, I brought him some dinner. So I made him a nice plate of Southern hospitality, Jim and Nick's barbecue. And I found him and I said, Mr. Crosby, my name is Tony Kurre. I work for a radio station. We're doing a meet and greet. If you come back, that'd be great, blah, blah, blah. But I heard the food here sucks. And I thought I'd bring in some dinner. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, thanks. And I said, okay. And he walked off. And I was like, okay. So I go back to the group and I said, I just dropped off some dinner. We'll see what happens. I doubt he's going to be here. A few minutes later, I walk back out and he's sitting at a picnic table eating his dinner and he looks like he enjoys it. And he got up and he looked at me and he's waved me over and he said, hey, I appreciate you bringing me dinner. I said, it's my pleasure. I said, welcome to Birmingham. Sorry you had to go through that. I was kissing his ass. I was kissing his ass big time. Even though he was a pain in the ass, I was kissing it. And I said, no problem. He goes, you say you got some type of meet and greet or something going on? I said, yeah. I said, we're back here. I said, man, if you'd be kind enough to come back just for like 2 or 3 minutes, just say hi to everybody and you can turn around and walk away. He came back and spent like 30 minutes back there with us, man, signing autographs, shaking hands, smiling, laughing. And I walked him back up towards the stage area and he apologized for being such a pain in the ass. He's like, I've been doing this too long to get shitty food. And I really appreciate you feeding me dinner. And from that point on, man, I was a David Crosby lover, man. I just absolutely loved it. But they sounded so good together. You just don't hear bands like that sound that good that long. And again, we're going to be starting a brand new show on TKR, Tony Kurre Radio, called Wide Awake Wake, where we're going to be celebrating the lives of rock and rollers who are still alive. And I'm going to sit back tonight. I'm going to listen to me some Dark Star, some Marrakesh Express. I'm going to go back some Birds and really celebrate the life of David Crosby. I hope you do too, because he was iconic. He was an absolute monster, and he will be sadly missed at the age of 81. Just gave up live performances about 8 months ago. Said he was too tired, couldn't do it. Dave Wood, good morning to you. Sam Rushing, good morning. Good afternoon to you. Got my times all messed up. John David Lyons, hope you had a fantastic gig last night, my man. Great picture with you and Don King. But yeah, I'm going to go listen to some music and enjoy some David Crosby tonight. And we're going to be doing this brand new show where we're going to be celebrating rockers before they actually die. It's unfortunate, man, because now Crosby, Stills, and Nash will have like the top streaming albums for the next 3 or 4 days just because David passed away. We shouldn't have to wait for these guys to die to really appreciate what they gave to us musically throughout their lives. So our thoughts and prayers and rest in peace, David Crosby, dead at the age of 81. And enjoy that barbecue in heaven, my man. See you tomorrow morning here on Tony Kurre Radio.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.